Good afternoon, Dylan with Huntsville Guns. I want to do a little bit different video today. I want to cover what I'm working on at the moment, but also what I have done around the shop today, the business that I have conducted. We're going to talk a little bit about money, just some basic pricing. And so I wanted to preface by saying that nothing that we're going to discuss today is for sale here on YouTube. I am a federal firearms licensee and a professional gunsmith, and I do this professionally for a living. And so the money side of what we're going to discuss is strictly to show the business aspect of this business, but the money side of it and why I do what I do and how. So what I'm working on currently is a Remington 742 Woodmaster. I got a couple of highlights, facts about it. So the 742 replaced the Remington 740 in 1960 and then was ultimately replaced by the 7400 right around 1980, with about 1.4 million of these being produced in that run. This particular gun is in 30-06, but they were also available in 270, 35 Whelen, 280 Remington, and several different calibers. This is a gas-operated semi-auto, and it does have a rotary bolt. That's part of the reason it's here. It has a detachable box magazine that is 4+1. And I will give you the reason it is here, and then give you my opinion on the platform and some things to look out for if this is something you're considering. So this firearm was brought to me by a customer because he couldn't get the bolt to open. With it being semi-auto, there's a charging handle here on the side, and you pull that back and the bolt was stuck forward. It's part of the reason that I am not a huge fan of this platform. I think it's a great idea, but I think that there are some inherent flaws that ultimately led to its failure. So it has an action bar set up. So there's a gas block, and then the forward portion of the action bar that interacts with the gas system, and then the two action bars that press on the bolt body. So if we look in the receiver here, this is the bolt body and then the bolt head. Like I said, this is a rotary bolt. So when I move the action to the rear, you can see the bolt rotate in its cam grooves. It's a 9-lug bolt, so there are 3 lugs at every 60 degrees, essentially. And when the gas exits from the gas port here at the gas block, it pushes back on the action bar, and that is what pushes the bolt body back, and then the lugs rotate, unlocking it. So with the rotary design and the large calibers that these rifles were made in, the bolt will go all the way to the rear, and as you see, it goes into the rear. There's a little recess back here that the bolt goes into, and when it hits under recoil, it hits pretty hard, and that causes the bolt head to kind of continue to rotate ever so slightly. And so if you're looking at it from the rear, it goes just a little bit further than where it's supposed to. After a lot of years of use and neglect, these have the tendency where that bolt, see if I can find it in the camera. I'm gonna put the gas block all the way forward. There we go. So if you look here, you can see teeth marks right up in here. Let me find my dental pick. There we go. So right here, you can see teeth marks on the inside of there's a little slot in the top of the receiver that the bolt rides in. It's kind of like a raceway. And that lug on those bolts are harder than the steel receiver. And over time, when it rotates a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further, it kind of pings material, it rolls that material, and the bolt lugs will eventually chew up the inside of the receiver. When these get bad enough, the bolt will no longer travel through there, or it causes the bolt to do some weird stuff, in its travel, and ultimately will lead to failure. They don't make these receivers anymore, and the majority of them are now, pushing 40 years old, 45 years old. The newest one would be 44. And so replacement parts are non-existent, and that is not something that traditionally I would consider for repair. You would have to thoroughly clean it and remove the finish that's there, clean up the inner surface from all of the knurled material where it's rolled over, TIG or add some filler material, and then remachine that bolt raceway. It's a very cost prohibitive repair. There's some additional things that make these not as robust a design as it could be. So fairly regularly, 1 out of 3 that I see come through the door, the stock is, come on and focus, there we go, is cracked. You can see here on either side of this hole that the stock is cracked. And if we get the light right, there you go, you can see the break here along the top of the wrist. These, a shooter grade example of these can be, $400 or $500. They're fairly affordable. Some of the really, really nice versions that haven't been used much and are with a box can go up north of $1,000, but the majority of them that I see have been hunted with for a long time. And so financially, to repair this stock, so they have a lacquer finish. You can see the chips in the lacquer here. It's very difficult to fix a crack or repair this stock without having to refinish the whole stock. And then it gets very expensive very quickly is the point I'm trying to make. To fix the little problems, and then ultimately you have a receiver that in most gunsmiths' opinion, I would say it's probably going to fail in some time in the future. And so spending money on a sinking ship kind of deal. They're great guns. They're not the most accurate platform, but when you find one that is in good shape, they're pretty reliable. They are in great calibers, in my opinion, and as such, some of them are worth saving, some of them are not. So if you're looking to purchase one of these, you definitely want to look at the inside of the receiver and see if the bolt has been chewing the receiver. But also just the overall condition. This gun is incredibly dirty. You can see here, the inside of this firearm has probably never been cleaned. And then the gas block is nice and rusty. Just things that need to be addressed to give it another season or two in the woods. So that's what I'm working on currently. Just trying to assess the damage that exists and see if it is a viable firearm for conservation and to put back into use. But also had a couple customers, with Christmas approaching, a couple customers called me looking to get rid of some firearms that they had in an effort to raise some funds for another project or another firearm that they're looking to purchase. So I did buy some things today. Ultimately, that's probably where my money was made today. I did purchase a couple of guns from a couple of different people, and I purchased them for what I consider a good price where I'll still have some profit in them. So first things first, I had a customer call me about a couple of 22 rifles that he wanted to get rid of. He was looking to buy a new handgun for himself, and so he needed to liquidate some assets to make money for that. So first one that came through the door was a carbine model 1022. This synthetic stock version, it's a fairly newer gun based on the serial number. Did come with a scope rail. It's not a Ruger branded, but a Monstrum branded rail. Most of the finish is still there. The bluing looks good. The stock has been handled, but it's still very much a usable firearm. So that came in with 4 or 5 BX-25 magazines and the original 10-round magazine that came with it. I purchased that for $75. I feel that I will probably be able to double my money on that one, get pretty close to it anyways. I do have a drawer in a filing cabinet full of scopes that have come off of projects in the past. I may see if I have a decent scope for that one just to put a little lipstick on the pig. But that one ultimately will be going back out the door here in the future. Same customer brought me an AR-15. So this is an assembled firearm. This is not something that he purchased in this configuration. So what it is a New Frontier polymer lower and what appears to be a DPMS, you see DPMS 556 1 and 9 twist upper. I believe the upper is from DPMS when they did the Sportical line. It had this low pro railed gas block and standard A2 style setup. It did not have the original bolt carrier when it came in. It was actually set up to run a CMMG 22LR conversion. So the carrier and a couple of magazines came with it. I've pulled those out. I'll sell those separately. I actually have a customer who's been looking for one of those. And so I'll probably just end up selling him that separate. But the lower I will most likely run over with the truck so nobody else has to deal with it. And then I will order a carrier for the upper, or I'll sell it as is. I paid $75 for this as well. I feel that was very affordable. Like I said, the lower has no value to me. I don't recommend them to most people or to anyone actually. And so I consider that a wash. But the upper, the barreled upper definitely has some value. I'll probably make my money back on it. Again, $75 into it, and then whatever I make on the 22 long rifle conversion is profit. Last customer of the day, I'm actually getting ready to close down here pretty quickly, but the last customer of the day brought me a like new in box Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0. This is just a full size 9mm. It, like I said, is like new. If it has been fired, it's been fired very little. 9mm came with two 17-round magazines and all of the adjustable back straps that go along with it. That one I paid $275 for. I felt that was reasonable. Not the cheapest and not the most expensive, but it is a pretty easy to sell handgun in my market, and so I will clean it up a little bit, put a fresh coat of oil on it, and then list it and have it sold pretty quickly with the holidays. Again, different format from what we normally do. We're not covering one specific firearm, but looking at basically what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. Hope this is something y'all find appealing. Feel free to drop a comment down below if you have some suggestions, and if you wouldn't mind, give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing if this is something that you're interested in or you like knowing what it is that I'm doing. As a professional gunsmith, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for hanging out. Have a great afternoon.